flexing NATO's air power in volatile times.
It is a strange world we're living in right now, and that keeps me awake sometimes at night. And I sometimes phrase it as, it seems like the whole world is on fire.
Exercise Ramstein Flag was about sending a message of deterrence to Russia and trying to prevent the worst from happening by practising crucial tactics.
We're talking integrated air and missile defense of NATO countries. That can be used for that, and it can be used for counter anti-access aerial denial. So if it was an offensive mission where we're trying to get aircraft inside of Russia.
More than 90 aircraft and over 2,000 personnel from 15 of NATO's 32 countries were involved. They were practising how NATO would deal with a scenario involving an invasion of Allied territory.
The tempo of this exercise is relentless. Wave after wave of aircraft leaving Leeuwarden Air Base here in the Netherlands, which is the main hub. But there are aircraft flying in Ramstein Flag, operating from 12 different bases across Europe. And that's by design, because it makes things incredibly more complex.
This is NATO's largest air exercise of the year.
Like all the soccer players in a field, they're individually very good. But only with a good coach and a strong training, you can make the greatest team in the world that can be world champion. And individually, there can be players that may not be there yet, or do not have the same assets. And like here, we have different aircraft. So we learn the strengths and the weaknesses of those aircraft. We learn how we can utilize each other in the best way and make the sum of all the parts bigger than the normal sum.
So let's take a look at the team NATO brought to the field for its show of force, which included aircraft from across 12 bases. In the UK, RAF Marham hosted 6 F-18 Hornets from the Spanish Air Force, and from Scotland, 4 Typhoons from RAF Lossiemouth practised air-to-air refuelling. At RAF Fairford, US forces hosted 5 Turkish F-16s and 3 Romanian F-16s. There were 6 F-35s from the US, 10 F-35s from the Netherlands, who also supplied an MQ-9 Reaper. NATO's 2 newest members participated, with Sweden sending 6 Gripen aircraft and Finland sent 5 F-16s. The French contributed 5 Rafale jets and Germany sent 8 Eurofighter Typhoons.
Leeuwarden Air Base here in the Netherlands is the main hub for exercise Ramstein Flag, which NATO commanders are describing as one of the most demanding air exercises that NATO has ever done.
There was a rare chance to speak to the commander of Allied Air Command, which led to a very frank answer on what they were practising for.
The combined air power that's been on display in Ramstein Flag, can you tell us what real-world situations that could be used for? For example, could it be used to manage a no-fly zone over Ukraine if that's needed for a security guarantee package? And also, can you tell us how have the Russians reacted to what you've been doing so far in the exercise?
Yeah, you bet. It can be used for a lot of things. For your specific example, no question it could be used to enforce a no-fly zone. But it's more than just that. We're talking integrated air and missile defense of NATO countries. That can be used for that, and it can be used for counter anti-access aerial denial. So if it was an offensive mission where we're trying to get aircraft inside of Russia. Now, we hope that exercises like this will deter our adversaries so we never have to do that. But if it does come the time where we have to do that, we'll be ready for it.
Take a look behind the scenes at the nerve centre for sending orders to the personnel executing the missions. The satellites and radar here allow personnel to manage the airspace. We're getting an exclusive tour of a vital part of the operation.
If you come with me, I'll show you inside. This is one of our operational shelters. This is where the operators will sit and manage the airspace within the operation. So they'll use the top screens here to view sensors, and they'll use the bottom screens to be able to connect to the radios. From here, they'll be able to speak to aircraft whilst also being able to monitor the entire airspace. These are our management communication shelters. Unfortunately, you don't have the clearance to be able to see in here, but this is where the data and the voice from our deployable sites will be inputted into the site.
So what we're doing now, 80 years later, is really not that different from World War II, where you had the fighter escorts ensuring that the bomber aircraft could get to their target and have the effect. So even though technology has improved significantly since then, and different aircraft can do different roles, it's still fundamentally the same thing. We're talking to the fighters to provide air defence of the assets that can go in and have an effect.
Making sure they can operate as one team by cross-servicing each other's aircraft was an important part of the exercise.
We had the Royal Netherlands Air Force catch and launch our aircraft with our maintenance. And then we've had our maintenance doing the same for them. So our maintainers were launching and recovering their F-35s as well. And that's actually a part of a history we have of working with the Dutch and other NATO partners to fly our F-35s at different bases all around Europe and then do maintenance cross-servicing on a regular basis.
So these Swedish Gripens are part of the 90 aircraft taking part in exercise Ramstein Flag. It's a pretty relentless schedule, and these maintainers have got just a short amount of time to get these aircraft ready to get back in for the first wave of the day.
We have a very advanced air-to-air missile called the Meteor, and that in combination with the 5th generation stealth capabilities, it really acts as a force multiplier. We also have an air-to-surface missile capability, which means that we can attack ships, which is not that common in NATO and not that common in this exercise. So that is also a capability that is valued and asked for.
The political backdrop to all of this had many people asking, what is the commitment of the new US administration to NATO, and what does the US think about concerns around capability gaps in European air forces?
As you know, we recently elected a new president in the United States, and we're still trying to figure out the exact policies that they're going to be coming out with. But I know that we're going to be here in Europe, as evident now here at Ramstein Flag 25. And matter of fact, we're already starting to look at Ramstein Flag 26. As far as filling in the gaps, I think you've seen that over the last couple years, a lot of Europeans have bought 5th generation aircraft to the point where they're going to have about 750 of them by about 2032 time frame. And at that time frame, only 54 of those are going to be the U.S. And that's the number that we had planned before this administration. So I think you're going to see us hand in hand with the Europeans for quite some time.
The alliance wants and needs images like these to make sure that Russia won't even try to launch a large-scale attack on NATO territory. But if the fight does come tonight, the lessons learned here will be the experience personnel will be drawing on in the wrestle for victory. Sian Gweszczek, Melbourne, BFBS Forces News, the Netherlands. Thanks for watching. For more from BFBS Forces News, like and subscribe to our channel.